So this presentation is on CFCA2 Part B, consists of two questions, and I'll be speaking on the first instrument. So the first instrument I'll be sharing is green bonds. They are a type of fixed income instrument designed specifically to support environmentally friendly projects. They are essentially loans that investors provide to governments, corporations, or other entities with the understanding that funds raised will be used exclusively for environmentally friendly projects. In these environmentally friendly projects, electrification projects are one of the bigger projects green bonds focus on. As you can see on the four bubbles, the visual, electrification projects refers to the process of transitioning from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and hydro in various sectors such as transportation, heating, and industrial processes. Next, I'll be speaking on some examples on electrification projects that the green bonds fund. So I'll be speaking on two bonds here. Firstly, in 2018, Indonesia decided to make a move towards sustainability and issued a green bond to raise capital for electrification and sustainable projects. The $1.25 billion raised, which signifies a huge market demand, funded renewable energy projects like solar and wind, sustainable transportation, and waste management. The Philippines bonds is also another example. The government or issuing entity offers the bond to investors to raise $100 million in capital to finance renewable energy projects and energy efficiency projects. Next, I'll be talking about IRENA. IRENA is the International Renewable Energy Agency, and it utilizes green bonds as part of its strategy to promote renewable energy investments and support sustainable development. As you can see, IRENA is pushing towards a renewable power capacity generation, and green bonds are essential for IRENA's electrification strategy by attracting global capital for renewable energy projects. Their rapid growth reflects rising investor confidence, enabling IRENA to support diverse global initiatives by leveraging green bonds. IRENA can secure funding and advance the global shift to renewable energy. The next instrument, blended finance. Blended finance is a strategic approach that blends concessional capital, which is public funds, with commercial capital, which is private investment, to leverage the private sector factor for environmentally friendly projects. I'll be talking about one major example here. Electrify, which is Electrification Financing Initiative, is an EU-funded impact investment facility managed by EDFI Management Company. It focuses on financing private early-stage companies and projects that aim to provide new and improved electricity connections and generation capacity from sustainable energy sources in emerging markets. It uses a blended finance model to attract capital for electrification projects. It involves combining concessional public funds with private sector companies to mitigate risk and make investments more attractive to private investors. So Electrify actually uses a blended finance approach with concessional funding and catalytic effect. Concessional funding is the financial support provided on terms more favorable than those available on the open market. This can include grants, low interest loans, and other forms of financial aid to lower the overall cost of capital. Catalytic effect is basically the ability of a small amount of public or philanthropic fund to attract much larger sums of private investment. A small amount of concessional funding is provided to a project. This funding reduces the risk for private investors, making the project more attractive. The initial funding acts as a catalyst, encouraging private investors to contribute additional capital. Next, blended finance impacts. So actually, as you can see, Electrify's investments have actually attracted an additional 418 million euros with a 4.2 times leverage factor. And in 2020, Electrify has actually invested 70.5 million euros, leveraging an additional 280 million euros from other investors. This has supported 29 companies, 32 million people, and 25 countries. Now, I'll be moving my time to Iwan.
Let's now look at sustainability-linked bonds. A sustainability-linked bond is a borrowing instrument where financial and structural characteristics are based on whether the issuer achieves sustainability or ESG metrics within a given time frame. As you can see from the graph, the sustainability-linked bond market has actually grown from 4.3 billion in 2019 all the way to $28.4 billion in 2021. This indicates a growing investor appetite for this type of bond as they offer several benefits, which we'll be covering later. And next, we'll be looking at some examples of sustainability-linked bonds. So we have here three examples here. The firstly is by NL, which marks the beginning of the sustainability-linked bond market in 2019, and followed by the Chile government, which issued the world's first sovereign SLB in 2022, And then within the same year, we got the government of Uruguay, which issued the world's second sovereign SLB as well. And this actually saw a huge investor demand with $3.96 billion in orders, which surpassed the $1.5 billion bond size.
All right, thank you, Yuan. Now I'll be presenting about green loans. So, a green loan is actually a form of financing which enables borrowers to use the proceeds to exclusively fund projects that make a substantial contribution to an environmental objective. So, a green loan is similar to a green bond in that it raises capital for green eligible projects. However, a green loan is based on a loan that is typically smaller than a bond and done in a private operation. So, these are some examples. Firstly, in Mexico, the International Finance Corporation actually structured and mobilized a $541 million 15-year green loan facility to support IE Nova. So the green loan will actually finance the construction of 5 solar plant projects in Mexico. By financing IE Nova's first solar power generation projects, IFC is actually seeking to support IE Nova's transition towards a greener business model. Secondly, in Brazil, IFC is actually helping to boost financing for climate-friendly projects through a green loan of up to $120 million to Sicredi. So the loan will actually help to diversify the country's energy matrix, promote sustainability, and support Brazil's climate goals. So the aim of this is actually to strengthen Sicredi's climate finance program, focusing on photovoltaic energy projects in Brazil. This actually allows the financial institution to finance renewable energy projects. Thus, this promotes more sustainable practices in energy use. So now I'll be talking about the pros in attracting capital. So firstly, we have the investor appeal. So blended finance is actually appealing to development FIs and investors seeking high impact and higher risk projects. Sustainability linked bonds actually attract banks and investors, which actually appeals to those wanting to support corporate sustainability within a traditional loan framework. Thirdly, we have green loans. These are appealing to companies seeking bank financing for specific green initiatives. And lastly, we have green bonds. So there's actually a strong investor appeal, which has driven the rapid growth and maturation of the green bond market, thus making it a key segment of global fixed income. So the second point is reputation. So blended finance actually has the least established reputation in mainstream finance, while sustainability-linked bonds have built a positive reputation for their flexibility and ability to incentivize company-wide sustainability improvements. Green loans, while they are less recognized than green bonds, share a similar reputation and follow established green loan principles, thus focusing more on bank financing than capital markets. Lastly, we have green bonds. Green bonds have the strongest reputation as they are widely recognized and respected in financial markets due to their longer history and clear structure. Thus, they actually set the benchmark for sustainable finance with well-defined principles. Now I'll be passing my time to Iwan.
Let's look at the pros in attracting capital from the market demand point of view. Blended finance is growing with a high growth rate. Sustainability linked bonds is rapidly growing and it has a high growth rate as well. And green loans are moderate and steadily growing. And lastly, green bonds are high and has been significantly growing as well. Next, we'll look at the cons in attracting capital. Firstly, we look at market volatility point of view. For blended finance is quite exposed to both public and private markets, with market fluctuations actually having a toll on it. And sustainability linked bonds are less affected. However, economic conditions and borrower performance can still affect it. And as for green loans, they are less exposed, and yet interest rate and economic changes can still affect their cost and availability. And lastly, for green bonds, they are highly exposed to the market volatility due to the tradability. And let's look at increased scrutiny. For blended finance, they face scrutiny due to the complexity of aligning interests and ensuring transparency, whereas sustainability-linked bonds are scrutinized for the ambition and relevance of the sustainability performance targets. And green loans attract attention from banks and stakeholders for the environmental impacts, though they face less public scrutiny than green bonds. And for green bonds, they have high scrutiny due to their public nature and the risk of greenwashing.
Okay, so I'm Lee Ann, and I'll be describing the government policies and incentives that encourages sustainable finance for electrification. So the first policy would be Green Finance Action Plan. So this plan was developed in 2019 to make Singapore an attractive hub for sustainable financing. And it also harnessed 5 strategies, which one of them being developing markets and solutions for sustainable economy. And the key feature of this plan is their support for sustainable bonds and sustainability-linked loans. And there are also other plans included under this strategy, which includes US 2 billion MAS Green Investment Program, as well as Insurance-Linked Securities Grant Scheme. How does this relate to electrification in fact? So under the Sustainable Bond and Sustainability-Linked Loan Grant Schemes, it provides financial support for sustainability-related projects, which include financing of projects related to renewable energy, which directly supports electrification efforts. And next would be Singapore Green Bond Framework, which is a government policy or framework for green bond issuances. And the proceeds from this policy would be used to fund expenditures such as renewable energy, energy efficiency, and clean transportation. So these expenditures supports efforts towards electrification and it funds projects that advocates for electricity generated from renewable energy sources, which directly relates to electrification. So the next incentive I'll be talking about is Sustainable Bond Grant Scheme and Sustainable Loan Grant Scheme. So both of them are quite similar in terms of offsetting up to $125,000 of expenses incurred for external reviews of eligible green and sustainability projects. However, the main difference is Sustainable Bond Grant Scheme focuses on promoting issuance of sustainable bonds. However, Sustainable Loan Grant Scheme is designed to incentivize companies to secure a loan for green and sustainability-related projects. And to have an important note, the Sustainable Bond Grant Scheme is only valid until 31st December 2028. Here are some details of the scheme, and this covers only some parts of the eligibility criteria for both schemes and includes some features of the scheme, such as qualifying issuer and qualifying issuance under the Sustainable Bond Grant Scheme, as well as qualifying borrower and qualifying instruments under the Sustainable Loan Grant Scheme. Next would be carbon tax. So the purpose of a carbon tax is to impose a fee for every ton of carbon dioxide emitted by companies, and it's expected to reach $50 to $80 per ton by 2023, and as you can see from the graph over here. So actually the tax revenue collected from carbon tax can be used to support decarbonization efforts, and this includes electrification as part of the key components in supporting decarbonization efforts. And also funds transitions to a green economy, cushion the impact of climate change on businesses as well as households. And companies can offset up to 5% of their tax liability through government-approved carbon credits. So next, I'll be passing on my time to Jean. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. And now I'll be moving on to taxonomy. So what taxonomy is essentially is a blueprint for businesses to become sustainable. It provides clarity and creates metrics and thresholds that businesses can use to benchmark their activities and ensure that they are moving towards more sustainable or sustainably financed activities. This, of course, includes financing companies as well as energy companies. Taxonomy aims to provide them with knowledge needed to move towards more sustainable operations. Taxonomy mainly consists of 4 classifications. So the first one, green, is activities that are contributing significantly to climate change. And then we have amber transitions, which are companies that are moving towards sustainably aligned goals or taxonomy aligned goals and aim to reach these goals in a defined period of time. And then we have amber measures, which are more specific measures that can be taken by the companies and can also be used to classify their green investments or capital expenditure, such as green loans and green bonds. And then lastly, we have illegible or red activities, which are activities that are not currently aligned with the taxonomy or are beyond the scope of it. And lastly, we have Enterprise Sustainability Program, or ESP. So this program is also designed to help businesses, specifically SMEs, to navigate their sustainability journey. It aims to equip them with the sustainability knowledge and partners with industry service providers to provide these businesses with resources needed to move towards sustainability. This includes providing them with sustainable financing. So how ESP encourages sustainable financing for electrification is that by fostering a sustainable mindset within these companies, they encourage these companies to seek sustainable financing. And then furthermore, by creating a sustainable environment within Singapore, it helps attract foreign sustainable investments. And that will be all. Thank you.